The White House is framing a return to the Iran nuclear deal as a way to bolster global oil supply. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman saying Iran should take the deal because, quote, they would get sanctions relief. They would improve their economy and sell their oil again, and the world needs their oil, so they could get a good price for it.
Her language makes it seem like maybe, they're not so bad if they bring down gas prices, which has been hurting the president in polls, obviously.
Well, look, there's obviously a potentially tangential benefit. But again, Jackie, that's not the purpose here. The purpose is to try to prevent them from having a nuclear weapons capability.
President Biden did not participate in a meeting with oil and gas CEOs at the White House last month, but fist bumped with the Saudi crown prince as part of a bid to get more oil from OPEC plus states, returning home without a commitment. And yet, it's the media in the administration's crosshairs. Communications Director Kate Bedingfield telling staff in a memo Biden's not getting enough credit for gas prices falling over the last month, writing, despite the data, you wouldn't know gas prices are coming down from watching the evening news or reading the paper. The media is doing its own version of rockets and feathers, covering the spike but not the drop. Credit the president apparently deserves when prices go down but not up.
To be really clear, obviously, the president does not control the price of gasoline. No president does.
Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible.
Team Biden not admitting the positive trend on gas prices makes for a tough time to declare a climate emergency. The White House delaying executive orders, but not saying why.
We still have it on the table, and I don't have a date circle on the calendar.
Tough times for the Biden White House. Not the main reason he shouldn't run again, says President Clinton's former labor secretary, Robert Reich, who also served in the Obama transition, adding his voice to growing calls that Biden is simply too old. Bret?
Jackie Heinrich live in the North Lawn. Jackie, thank you. Testimony has begun in the criminal contempt trial of former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, tied to his initial refusal to testify in front of the January 6th Capitol Riot Committee. Correspondent David Spunt has the latest tonight from the Justice Department. Good evening, David.
Bret, good evening to you. After multiple delays, this trial is finally underway, wrapping up for the day just about an hour or so ago. Federal prosecutors painted a picture of Steve Bannon as someone who blatantly ignored the requests for documents and a deposition by the January 6th committee. Bannon and his team left the courthouse. You see him there not long ago after his attorneys asked to delay the trial by a month after the judge allowed new government evidence. The judge again rejected the request to delay the trial. Prosecutors began telling the jury that Bannon chose to show his contempt and decided he was above the law. Bannon is charged with 2 counts of criminal contempt of Congress. Each charge could land him from 30 days to a year behind bars. The last time, Bret, someone was successfully prosecuted for this, 1974, Nixon AG Gordon Liddy. That's how rare it is for the Justice Department to actually prosecute this charge and win in court. Late this afternoon, Bannon said he wanted the January 6th committee members personally to come to that courtroom.
We have a constitutional crisis in this nation right now, and they're charging me with a crime. Have the guts and the courage to show up here.
Bannon is arguing he did not cooperate with the committee because he didn't have to, citing executive privilege for his conversations with then-President Trump. Federal prosecutors say given the fact that Bannon left the White House in 2017, executive privilege is just not applicable in this case. Both sides are at odds over the extent of executive privilege for both former government employees and former presidents. The issue could wind up eventually at some point at the Supreme Court. Bannon's trial is expected to wrap up at the end of the week. Prosecutors say their case will take about a day. This all happens just a couple days before the primetime hearing of the next January 6th committee hearing. Bannon now, Bret, says that he's willing to testify in front of the committee in public on camera. The committee says too little too late. They'll talk to him. They just want to do it behind the scenes because they are concerned that Bannon will grandstand in front of cameras. Bret?
David Spunt at the Justice Department. David, thanks. As mentioned at the top, the U.S. Senate will vote shortly on the first step toward a scaled-down version of a semiconductor chips bill. Senators and members of the House have already approved different versions of the measure. Congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has an update.